Welcome to Book Thots, where we are thoughts for books, and these are our thoughts on books. For the third episode, we're reviewing chapters 15 through 22 of Onyx Storm, the third book of the Empyrean Series. This is a part 3 of a 10-week journey diving into Onyx Storm. Before we jump in, we do have a content warning. Today's podcast is rated R. We are Book Thots after all, so we are going to be using adult language, talking about adult topics. Please pay attention to who may be listening nearby. This episode will contain spoilers for Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. We focus on specific chapters each episode, but our conversation will include the entirety of the series. So, if you haven't read them, today's podcast is not for you. Lastly, I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. We, definitely Jenna and Emily over here, are going to pronounce some names and places. Jenna, I think you will be going into the recap today and the shipdown for these chapters.
Yep, we're going to start with chapter 15 today, and I'm just going to do like a super rough overview of what happened in the chapter, and then we're going to go into a more in-depth questioning and discussion about chapter 15, and then we'll move on to the next one. If we take one thing from this chapter, it should be Quest Squad. I mean, it's referenced throughout the rest of the book. So we get a glimpse of Xaden and his debut as a professor. They're in the infantry quadrant, which is different for everybody, but this is their new class. They're using an area like a fighting pit. And Violet notices a huge difference in the wards surrounding the fighting pit. Xaden explains that it's kind of like a weather ward that's been in place in other areas that they've been through, but this one is to protect the rest of the campus from the ones competing on the mat so that they can let loose in order to properly train for fighting Venin. Tension between he and Violet is super high right now because he's recently been promoted to professor. That means there's constraints on their relationship because they can no longer publicly be together. I thought this chapter was pretty fun because we got to see Violet and Xaden's dialogue. Being able to listen to them flirt again was fun.
Yeah, there's definitely some tension.
I was wondering if we knew who helped Xaden weave the wards, because he suggests that Mira would even be proud of him and the people that worked on him. And Mira's our ward lady, you know.
Yeah, that was actually going to be a question I had for you guys off of this chapter. We know Xaden's good at making wards because he's made the wards for his bedroom, his home, for Violet's bedroom. So Mira just extends wards, right? That's her signet?
From what I understand, I think she's really good with words, but I think she can also use her ability to extend it. I'm not sure if her signet alone lets her just be able to manifest them.
Yeah, the only time she did was when she was protecting Brennan, her, and Violet when they're in that showcase of beating the Venin.
Yeah, it takes immense emotional strain.
Yes.
Yeah. In this chapter, he says, I've made wards that even Mira would be proud of.
Yeah.
I only picture wards as like a bubble of protection, but that almost makes it seem like wards are so much more than just a protection. They can do other things too.
Well, yeah, and they call them weather wards. It's frozen around them, right? And they're warmer once they get in here.
Can Mira then extend any type of ward? Any type of ward.
I don't remember it mentioning anything anywhere about who helped Xaden with the wards. Who's the wards experts?
Yeah.
And who's weaving them around everywhere?
That's a good question, because I'm genuinely curious too, since he kind of made it seem like she was not a part of this one. Who else helped him other than just knowing he can do it himself?
He can do wards. Is wards considered like a lesser magic, as they like to call it? Because it seems like only a few people know how to actually use it. Why is Xaden so good at it?
He's so good at runes. Why wouldn't he be good at wards? They take seats on or around the mat, not touching the mat. Xaden's super specific about that. Like, don't touch the mat. And if you don't have your signet manifested yet, you have to sit in the back rows. And Violet takes note. Most of the first years are sitting in the chairs. Like, they don't have their signets manifested yet.
Yeah,
so
signets seem to be manifesting a lot slower with this next group.
Yeah. But also, we know that it's not always really obvious to the writer when their signet manifests, because Violet wielded before she even realized that she wielded, right? So
we all knew what that was. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Maybe the first years, or at least some of them, have manifested and they don't know it, or are they hiding it?
Well, we know that Arik has probably manifested at this point.
Yeah, but he's sitting. So he's hiding his.
Yeah, he has to hide his.
Absolutely.
Because they'd kill him.
Yeah.
It just seems so crazy that there's only like really 3 options. You've manifested and don't know, or you blow up, or you manifested and you do know. And that's it. That's all you get.
Are there more that are hiding theirs? And why have their dragons asked them to hide it?
Or, here's a thought. How many intrinsics are out there who hid it?
Yeah.
Because you could, if you can control that quickly.
Yeah. Because you could probably say like a lesser magic is your signet or something like that to hide it. Or maybe you can completely read people's thoughts, but you just tell them, oh, I read emotions really well.
Riddick also, he's like, well, I don't think that a lot of the ice wielders can pull it from the air and I can.
Yeah.
So like everybody's is going to be at a different level. Are we happy seeing Violet and Xaden having to control their emotions around each other and their, hands, or do we miss the steam?
It adds a new layer.
Yeah.
It's definitely tension in its own form. It's frustration.
We know what they've had. They know what they had.
Yeah.
And they can't
get caught.
They can't and they can't give in.
Yeah.
I mean, not only for the professor part of it, but then also that Xaden doesn't trust himself at all.
As I'm reading it, I'm glad because it adds something different to this book. But then at the end of the book, when things go south, I always just think, all that missed time that they had together, that they could have been sleeping next to each other. It does make me sad knowing the ending of this book.
Let's move on to chapter 16. Xaden spars with Violet, forcing her to use their bond to locate him in the darkness that he creates with his shadows. Once again, hints at the fact that she's the only one that can kill him and she's going to have to do it. Violet and her squad take Sawyer out for drinks to boost his morale, and they do some bonding with the Gryphon riders as well. Kat is questioning Violet. They just got to witness Xaden full power mode with his shadows, right? And she's like, that's terrifying. How are you not scared of Xaden, Violet?
Yeah.
And or are you scared? And Violet's like, no, I'm never scared of him. I've been scared for him, and I am scared for him, but I'm not scared of him.
And a relationship, especially in these characters, can't be scared of him.
Yeah.
If you are, then it was never meant to be. You're not as powerful either.
So then talk about signets manifesting comes up, and Eric and Lynx are there too that haven't manifested yet, and they're the first years in the squad. It's not Eric. It's Iric. No, it's how do you say it?
I just say it as Auric.
Auric.
Eric. It's all the same.
Yeah.
They haven't manifested, but has Auric already? The squad gets into discussion about the gods and their temples. Amari, Dune, Malik, Zinol, and Hedion. Yes? No?
Zanal and Hedion?
Good.
Maybe?
There we go. Are all mentioned, and they talk about how Xaden is the god of wisdom. One of the flyers questions, like, why don't the scribes pray to Hedion? And Violet's like, no.
It's about knowledge.
Scribes are...
They don't ask for what should be earned.
And knowledge and wisdom are very different. We also see some sparks between Trager and Kat. Dain shows up, and him and Violet finalize how to retrieve her father's journal from his father's residence, which we all know was Violet's childhood home. The person she trusts least is living there. And now she's going to have to trust Dain to go fish her father's journal out. I just wanted to go over the gods because they're mentioned throughout, and I never know which one is which and what's going on. So Amari is the queen of the gods, and that's who Marin and them have been in the temple praying to. I don't know why they choose to worship that one as flyers, but they do.
Yeah,
So.
and it says that Violet, that's the one she used to worship before her father died.
That's why she references Malik so much.
Yeah, she's like, mainly I've been going to Malik's temple. Mostly I'm just shouting at him. It's not like she's worshiping and praying to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Dune is the goddess of strength and war. She and Malik and Zinal are the most mentioned. Malik being the god of death, Zinal being god of luck.
In this chapter, it's important to note that the flyers spent hours worshiping the gods, and the writers were like, yeah, we went and we did the thing, but we just did it. Even though they're the good writers, the ones that did the right thing, they still kind of see themselves better than everyone else. I think that that's why they don't spend as much time in the temple. Flyers are like, oh no, we need the gods on our side. And some of the writers are like, I am the god on my side.
Dragons specifically Taryn calls them puny gods.
Yeah.
Like, I don't heed your puny gods.
Yeah.
And so Violet's like, I'm not going to be blasphemous, but also, you're kind of right. We got the power right now.
But I think in this book, we actually start to see how much the gods do play a role.
I mean, that's once you get off the continent. You're not seeing the gods interact as much until you get off the continent and into the Isles.
Mm-hmm.
And who has your favor?
Because the god of luck, we all know what happens there.
Ugh.
Trager gets stabbed in the heart with an arrow.
That was a
But-
short-lived romance.
It's a short-lived romance. His death brought them to find the dragons. Where they buried him is where they found the hidden
Yeah.
7th breed dragon. Yeah, he died, but the luck was that they were able to find the 7th breed.
And everything that was given, every prize that
Oh.
was given has way bigger impact.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like something to be overlooked while
sure-
reading that chapter.
Yeah, I'm sure when we get to that chapter, we
Mhm.
will go through what each of us thinks what the object means.
Short-lived romance or not, who's rooting for Trager and Kat? Because I am at this
Yeah.
point in the book.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, I
like,
was all
"Fuck
for
yes,
it."
Trager, like, get your girl, man.
The
You've been
mo-
pining after.
Yeah. The moment he's like, you need to get over Xaden and realize what's in front of you, people who really care about you, that's a huge moment for him to step up and throw it out there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he shot his
Because-
shot.
Yeah,
He
like,
And I
did.
respect it.
I do too. I do wish they had a longer lived romance, but I can see the toll that it took on Kat too after the fact, and it's very evident that she cared more than she let on.
She was probably just hiding behind, I need the crown. I need
Yeah.
Tough
Xaden.
facade.
Like, yeah. That's her character development. Do we think Dain is worthy of Violet's trust at this point in the
The
book?
the second he chose to fly away from his home, being a rule follower and breaking things of the codex, the second he chose that, to me, he was worthy.
Yeah.
I will say, I think it's strange that Rebecca didn't write him going into the study and trying not to get caught and grab
Mhm.
the paperwork. I find that kind of sketchy, but I do trust Dain. I trust Dain.
I do too. I mean, he wasn't even just following Violet. Xaden is the one who kept saying, if you're in, you're in. It's not her, it's me you're going to be under. And he let go of his pride. He let go of his previous notions of who to follow. He changed his character in my
Mhm.
mind. So let's go over chapter 17 now. I wanted to pull from the beginning text before the chapter starts. It's a very informal letter to Violet from her father, just talking to her personally and telling her that she can't trust anyone. Make sure you don't trust anyone, because he and her mother cannot trust anyone. They couldn't trust anyone before all this stuff started happening. Now it's even more pertinent that she doesn't. During the death toll, a rider from Third Wing has died due to an accident while flying in the snow. This was pretty significant because they've stopped killing inside the walls of Bagskaya. You're not allowed to kill people. We want everybody to survive. They've adopted the flyers theory. You're strong. You bonded. Now we're going to keep you alive. And they still have accidents happening, taking riders and dragons away from the fight. The main meat of this is the interaction between Sloane and Violet, because it's their first time talking one-on-one since Sloane has siphoned the life away from Mama Sorengale.
Oh, Lilith.
R.I.P.
Sloane apologizes to her face. Huge for a character development for Sloane, because she's known as the bratty little sister sliding by and doing stuff, but not at the same level as everybody else, right? She's being handheld pretty much throughout the process. And then for her to stand out on her own, taking responsibility for my actions, I had the choice to siphon or not, and I did siphon.
It was a growth for her.
We learned that Dain has come through and given Jessinia Violet's dad's journal. And then since Sloane's been on archives duty, she has it and is giving it to Violet. Her and Violet go on to discuss Grady's plan for the Quest Squad. And he wants to go northward, which Violet obviously thinks is a terrible mistake. And Darna doesn't like the cold weather. She prefers warmer climates. Her gut is telling her that she needs to go south. Then she finally makes it to her room with the journal. Unfortunately, finds out it's been magically sealed and the contents will be ruined unless she gets the 6-letter lock correct. And the only clue she has is first love is irreplaceable. In the infantry quadrant, the squad is all discussing everybody's first love possibilities in her family. They talk about Brennan's, and they're like, maybe he loves somebody older than him. Mira, Violet doesn't think that she's ever been in love. Arik chimes in, possibly giving insight to who Violet's first love was. We don't have to wait long to find out. It was Halden, his brother. Halden is there. He shows up in the class in like this big dramatic entrance and starts talking to Violet and pushing her buttons immediately. He also reveals that he has a missive for Violet. He gives it to her and the wax seal has already been broken. She's like, you fucking read it? And he's like, yeah, I read it. The missive is from Viscount Takaris and it includes the text that she's asked for and tells her that the King Courtland of Deverelli agrees to meet in exchange for the Emilian citrine, which is currently in possession of Queen Mariah, but she doesn't have it technically. It's in Annika, and she's like, I'm not going to go get it because that place has been taken out already, and I'm not going to risk anything going to get it. So your quest squad is going to have to retrieve it if you want an audience with King Courtland. And Halden is like pushing Violet to see if she's actually in love with Xaden. And she says, yes, I am in love with Xaden. And then he gives her the clue of all clues on accident, saying that every writer's first love is their dragon. Violet has the light bulb go out over her head. It's like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, now I know the answer to my father's journal.
Is it in her father's journal? Asher is asking her to bring something of value to that merchant or to find the information to find the other journals, or was that beforehand?
No, it's in the journal.
Okay.
Oh, we also see Xaden become super jealous when Halden goes to touch her and he smacks him against the wall with the shadows.
Jealous that is Xaden.
Yeah.
I could take it. I love it.
You love the jealousy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my question.
Especially when it like comes between both, like, because we see Violet kind of get a little testy with Kat for a while there before she's finally like, whatever, this is nothing. It's just funny to see the roles reversed because we didn't see it as heavily when he was kind of annoyed with Dain. He just kind of was like a back off. You're just smothering her and she's mine. But this one really was, that's your first love?
She really pulls, doesn't she? The king or the prince or
the crown prince?
Yeah,
Right.
the one that gets it all. And she was like, oh, he was just Halden to me. Now she has Xaden.
I know.
And I think, is it Ree that's like, you really have a certain type. Men of power.
Duke,
Yeah.
prince.
Ooh, and the whole while she's needing to learn control of power. That's interesting.
We don't know who all was privy to the missive. Halden has it and it's broken, and Violet assumes that he read it, but who else had it before Halden? Because we know people are informing Venin.
I don't use letters as my primary form of communication, but I do know that at any point someone could read a letter when I send it in the mail.
That's why you always have to use a code.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you're studying at a war college. You're telling me like top 10 rule isn't, and by the way, people might start reading your mail because you go to this war college. Some of the stuff that they put in the letters, when you read them as the little experts, recovered correspondence. Covered from whom? Jess.
Do we appreciate overprotective, jealous zaddy boy, or are we missing the calm and always in control Xaden Ryerson?
Oh, he's not fun when he's calm.
I didn't say it right. Did I say it right?
What'd
His
you
last
say?
name? Is
Sorry.
it Ryerson?
Worcestershire.
I call it Ryerson.
We all agree though that we like jealous.
I just want to point out that my favorite moment in this chapter, someone says to Riddick that Garrick is now going to blow him off the mat. And Riddick's like, well, I hope he blows me off the mat in a certain way. And then Violet's like, your inside thoughts right now are outside. You need to keep them in.
Chapter 18. Aimseer, the name of Lilith's dragon, is the correct answer. And Violet opens the journal. It's titled A History of the Second Croveland Uprising. There is also a personal letter from him to Violet included. He tells her to seek a merchant in Devellery.
And Deverelli, Narelle, Ansel. You know what? We'll just go with what you said.
You could just honestly say
Yeah.
he tells her to seek a merchant.
She must take with her her most precious item that she possesses and not send anyone in her stead. He also mentions to bring Dain unless he's followed in his father's footsteps, and there will be no magic in Develry confirmed by Taryn. He says it is why the dragons remain and why it's surprising Irids left. Xaden shows up to Violet's room and hints that he picked up on a lot of things Halden was thinking. Violet tries to argue that that's not how his signet works. Xaden completely ignores her and is insistent on knowing if Violet loved Halden. She admits she did love him, but in an 18-year-old infatuation type way. I'm going to quote her. "You could leave me or even meet Malik, and it still would be. I've made my peace with knowing there's no getting over you." And then that causes Xaden to freak out and kiss her. She's like, oh, I need to calm him down. So she then tells Xaden about her father's journal, which immediately snaps him out of it. And they decide to heed his instructions under the guise of searching the Isles for Andarna's kind.
I don't know why, but I have, we just got a letter. We just got a letter.
I want to know, did Amsir die when Lilith died or not?
No, I think...
And then where the fuck did he go,
I
or
think
she?
Yeah.
The dragon would have died with Lilith. That would have been noted.
Yeah.
I think that still be bopping around.
He or she, I don't know what the dragon is, but obviously a super strong fucking dragon. And where did they go?
Yeah.
Do they just go back to the, what's the den called?
The Vale?
Yeah, do they just go back to the Vale when they lose a rider? I feel like that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
Or there'd just be dragons everywhere. I think this might be one of the most influential chapters of the entire series, because this letter from her dad, I think, says way more than just the words that are on the page. One thing that really sticks out to me is, if I now walk alongside Malik with your brother, with your brother, then guard this manuscript carefully. But if the worst has happened and your mother has joined us, then you must protect this knowledge with your very life. Lilith was a good guy. I believe it. Lilith was good. Mama Sorengel, I think she had to sacrifice a lot, but she had big plans. And so I just find that interesting that he says, what, if she's not around? This whole thing is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like he foresaw that they inevitably wouldn't be around.
Right.
Yeah.
In the long run. But like, she did everything she could to protect her. I just love that we found the final line of, I picked up on a lot of things he was thinking. That's not how your signet works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to my theory of Xaden has a third signet, because he says, I picked up on the things that he was thinking.
Yeah.
Not what his intentions were.
But it's still an intrinsic
Yeah,
signet,
but
right?
I don't
so I wonder
think
if it...
I think he's double intrinsic. Times that by 2.
Okay.
It's gross that Violet's parents let her be so close to Atos growing up, knowing how corrupt he is. Because in the letter, really realize like how much Mama and Papa Sorengale knew, and they still let their kids grow up being around Atos and all of the corrupt people. But also awesome of them because it allowed them to help raise Dain and give him another choice in life, which he seems to be taking.
Yeah.
He seems to be taking the road that the Sorengales paid for him rather than his nasty father.
I think they let them be so close to all the corrupt people because they couldn't tell them the truth yet.
Yeah.
And because they were close to everyone in power, she knows how they all operate.
Yeah.
She knows what they're like, what they do. That has already come into play, and it will come into play even more.
As a parent, though, I would want to protect my kids at all costs, which you know that the parents did.
Mhm.
Like, they did. I would want to protect them from corruption.
Yeah.
I would hate to put them in that position. It does speak to the fact that they know their kids are going to choose right. How does the 7th dragon breed remain away from the magic? If we know the Isles don't contain magic, and that's where they think the 7th dragon breed is, how are they living there?
Well, I know you're going to discuss this later, but I also am of the party that they are pulling magic from the sky.
I thought it was revealed. So when you said that was part of your theory, I was just going to leave it for discussion time.
Oh, is
with
it
that
not
question.
a theory? Is it a proof?
I thought it was revealed that the Irids pull from the sky and the dragons pull from the ground. And that's why Venin wants to be able to not only have dragons because they've bred wyverns, but they want Irids because They're killing the land around them.
If we're like straight out told, Violet definitely hasn't been told, because that's why I think she doesn't understand that she can use magic on all these isles, because she doesn't realize that her magic is not coming from the ground.
Yeah.
It's coming from the sky.
Yeah.
That's why they're always inferring you have so much untapped power, because she hasn't realized that that's where her magic is coming from.
Well, and Darna says, like, I don't choose the way you use my power.
True.
So...
Like a sassy little teenager.
Yeah.
No, we will discover. If we're wrong this episode, we'll correct ourselves in a different episode.
How are they away? And how have they remained away from the continent for so freaking long? Because Andarna's egg was 650 years old before she hatched, right? These dragons have been gone for a good-ass while. And they're supposedly still okay.
They are as bad as the humans that are not letting everybody in. They are peacekeepers? No, they are meanies. I think that's horrible that they know how to defeat the Venin, but just don't want to protect the people because people are bad.
I don't know. I don't like them.
I like Andarna, but that doesn't mean I have to like Papa.
But Andarna was not raised by them. I mean, she has probably some morally gray lines where she probably doesn't understand, but I don't think she was like nurtured natured. I don't think because she was around them for so long does she act high above like they do. They don't want anything to do with the war anymore.
Taryn and Sagail are her parents.
Yeah.
So,
straight up.
Like that's who raised her.
We need a term for hindsight is 2020 so that we don't say hindsight is 2020. We need like an internal term that when we want to say hindsight is 2020, we say it. Optometrist.
We'll find it. I'm sure we'll find it. But yeah.
I was trying to make like an Onyx Storm or like an Empyrean reference, and I was like, lightning? No.
Farsight. I'm farsighted.
Farsight. No.
This is a farsight moment.
This is a farsight moment. Xaden's intrinsic powers are either getting stronger or evolving. And is that due to him being Venin?
I guess he could not have a third signet, and he could just be getting stronger because he is Venin.
Even Riddick, who we don't have any reason to think is Venin, has been growing his signet. Signets can grow and evolve. Chapter 19, let's break this one down. Grady's quest squad, to now include Mira, sets out to retrieve the Emilian citrine from Annika. Andarna stays behind in Samara since Theophany is actively hunting her. Violet and Andarna can be separated at this distance for about 12 hours. Aura is putting everyone at risk because her nerves are so high. She has taken her gloves off and she's ready to wield at a moment's notice. And since wielding draws Venin in the area that they are, beyond the wards, this is really scary. She ends up lighting Captain Grady on fire because she thinks he's a Venin, which unfortunately kills him. The dragons come to retrieve them from the ground because the fire is like growing out of control and Xaden cannot smother it. Mira gets up in the air. Aura's dragon comes to grab her, and unfortunately, it is not her dragon. It's a wyvern, and it kills her upon grabbing her. Back in Samara, Mira hands Violet the necklace that they retrieved holding the citrine gem, which is badly damaged. And she stresses that she got there first because along with the necklace, she's holding a note that was sitting next to it. And the note is from Theophany to Violet, taunting her to come gain the knowledge that she seeks. Xaden points out that Theophany is aware of their movements before they make them.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bum, bum, bum. Henson is part of Grady's quest squad right now. And when they go to have their dragons pick him up to save him from the fire, Aura gets grabbed and killed by the wyvern. She just says, damn, they got here fast. That's her only comment. Not, fuck, where did they come from? It's, damn, they got there fast. It really feels like she was expecting them. Also, I wanted to point out that Sagail, who comes in, swoops in and kills the wyvern. It's snapping its fucking wings.
Yeah.
That was super cool. And she's a badass. And I really wish we got a little bit more dialogue.
She doesn't get enough airtime.
No, she doesn't.
And then obviously one of the questions is who's informing Theophany of Violet's movements? Where's the leak? Is it more than
does
one
Henson
leak?
survive this scene?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, she does.
It's the only one with her in it, isn't it?
I don't remember her coming back in...
I'm pretty sure that once they touch down in this chapter back in Samara, there's Pug, or whatever the fuck his name is. It's Pugh. Pug. Pug. I don't know how to say it.
Half man, half dog.
Xaden lays into him and is like, where the fuck were you? And he's like, we were patrolling the area. It's like, well, you were needed on the ground. Slams him up against the wall and then Henson and another person that's there with the crew pick him up from the ground. And that's the only other time that she's in there.
Well, because after this is when you point out that she gets to choose who she travels with, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why we don't see her again.
This chapter had me picking my jaw off the ground, only in that she kills a lot of people really quickly in this chapter. I thought that the book was going to be Violet going on these searches with people she doesn't trust and again and again and again, and her having to sneak around. But nope, Rebecca said, that's not going to happen. We're just going to kill him. First little adventure, done. Out of here.
I think Violet's doing a pretty good job of placing trust where it's deserved, but how can she keep from getting double-crossed when she's not in charge of the information that's being shared? She's not the only one. Like Xaden, when he staged his little revolution, he was the only one in charge of information. Nobody else had access to the information. It was him. It was him doling it out. Violet, in her little rebellious phase, she's not privy to that. Everybody's reading her letters. Everybody's in charge of shit that she's trying to do. She doesn't have power right now.
That would be such a hard position to put yourself in, to really not feel like the people you're surrounded with on this very important mission are really having your back.
Every possible path.
Yep.
I think that's just like what she keeps chanting to herself. I have to go on this mission with people that I don't trust. Some may be good, some may be bad. Every possible path to get the cure and to find Andarna's family.
I'm constantly annoyed throughout what is going on in these chapters that no one that led the revolution and came back to Basgiath all started following the rules again. And it's just, I know it's because there's a treaty in place and like they can't break it because it'll endanger these people and blah, blah, blah. But it's just so frustrating that they've proved they're strong. They've proved they can like handle themselves on their own. And now they're listening to these fucktards again.
Yeah.
It's just so annoying.
I think it just goes back to picking your battles. They know they just need to do this now to get them to a spot later.
In this chapter, Violet is continuing to question Jack Barlow, but not learning anything new. She's trying to get information about his sage. She's trying to get information about how to not channel from the earth, blah, blah, blah. And he's obviously not giving it to her. He's just like ranting and ranting about ascend progression and how good it feels to channel from the earth and how much better it is. Riddick makes his final stand about being included on the quest squad. Halden grants Violet the freedom to choose her squad for Deverelli. She chooses Xaden, Mira, Riddick, Kat, Drake, which is Kat's cousin, Dain, Halden, and Halden is allowed to bring his favorite guard. There's some arguing that goes on, and then the squad is finally accepted, much to Atos's dismay.
Daddy Atos.
Yeah, gross Atos. Why in the ever-loving fuck is Jack Barlow still alive?
He is going to play a big, I think
Yeah.
it's so funny because each book, everyone's like, he's going to play a much bigger role in the next book. I just know it. And then the next book comes in, like, you just wait. The next book, he's going to play a much bigger role. But each book, he's just like slightly in there, just a little bit.
Yeah, he was just like held captive this entire book.
Yeah.
Like basically
Theophany kills him.
Theophany.
Yeah, whatever.
Wait,
the
she
fuck
kills him? I thought they.
Yeah.
I thought they were like.
No. What?
Yes.
I thought that Xaden tells them to bring him back.
Yeah, he's in the cabinet.
Yeah.
But he lives.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think he dies.
Because Xaden's
No.
like, take him back. There's a reason why they want him. Well, now I gotta go look real quick.
Xaden's chapter, or is it before?
No, it's before when
before
she's
that.
like talking. Oh, that's Imogen's chapter. We don't ever touch Imogen's chapter.
Oh, God.
Maybe I would change my armor to either Imogen or Mira because I think they both deserve love in a very.
Should we just do?
Armoire
should we
as
maybe?
fuck, though.
Yeah, Bond.
Do you want Bond?
You
or
want Bond.
Armoire?
Mm.
And I think maybe
It's a hard one, right? Because Mira's got some sass.
I think every episode, if we want to critique our answer, we are allowed to. We probably should also explain that goes back to the game from episode 1, where it is Armoire, Bond, or Malik.
Oh,
And
okay,
that's a game we're playing throughout the entire series.
I thought she had attempted to kill him, and that's why they were like, she's trying to get rid of him because of the information, and that's why I thought they used Garrick to remove him, but maybe they didn't.
Time to play Violet. Theo hurls the dagger at Jack. She does hurl a dagger at Jack. It says, "Get the chest out of here," Xaden shouts to Garrick. If she wanted him dead, he obviously knows things they don't want us to. So I think he's still alive.
He's still alive. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Why is he still alive? Why in the ever-loving fuck is he still alive? It's just so annoying.
There's big plans.
Mm-hmm.
And even when book 5 ends, I might be saying that. Big plans. Big plans for Jack. Big plans for Jack the Whack.
He's just such a big character. Now, Sirius Riddick, anyone? Because that was very fun for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
He has such a connection with Ree and Vi that he makes sure to point out, especially what happened with Ara. He's needed, and when they're separate, bad things happen. She, again, needs people that have her back.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays such a big role in this squad. And I love that he took the orange.
Yeah. She's so focused on saving Xaden that she's like completely forgetting herself.
Yeah.
Which if she dies, Xaden dies still. Maybe. And I don't know. He's not Venin. I don't know. He really points out, you need me there. You
Yeah.
need someone from our team there.
Yeah. Toad's shipping Drake and Mira, but I will warn you, my ships sometimes crash and burn in a way that cannot ever be recovered. Did I just doom them to a bloody, violent death to happen within the first chapter of the next book? Possibly.
You think they're going to get together?
I want them to get together. The like dynamic between the first thing she does is knee him in the balls. And
Mhm.
he doesn't even like get mad. He's just like, yep, deserve that one.
Yeah.
I know I put your sister at risk.
They're fun to
yeah, I
hear
like
their
it.
banter a little bit.
I like them.
I like them too. Is Drake the one that gets broccoli?
He's
Yeah,
Kat's
yeah.
cousin. Does
Yeah, he
get...
gets broccoli.
Okay.
I think.
I think
Yeah.
that if they don't both die, which they probably will, that they'll live on a beautiful island with broccoli, and that will be their happily ever after.
I mean, Mira like snatch broccoli from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And she like loves the shit out of it.
yeah, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Why
"This little
broccoli?
fur ball."
Why
Alright.
broccoli? It's because it's the thing you don't want but you need."
And she's like, a carrot would have been better.
Yeah.
I just got to say hi to Daddy Tarn in this chapter. He's so good with Violet. It just makes my heart happy, especially when she's in front of the like council and she's addressing Halden. He hasn't ever seen me.
Mhm.
That's what she says. And Taryn says he hasn't. He no longer knows you. And just that support that he just continually gives her is just awesome. It's just a very father-daughter type of relationship between them two.
Yeah, and
Those two.
he's such a fatherly figure even to Darna, who definitely needs it. But especially in this chapter when she is addressing the court or the scenarium, I'm impressed with her confidence.
Absolutely.
Can I steal some of that? You just go in there and you ask and you demand and you're like, if it's not this way, then you better give me a damn good reason why it's not, because lives are at stake and I'm not wasting time.
Yeah, I feel like him interjecting there is kind of like, know your worth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Know that Halden was never worth your time.
Let's break down chapter 21. The squad travels to Viscount Takaris's residence in Cordon before continuing on to the Isles in Deverelli. Halden and his guard are carried by the Gryphons in a basket. Hilarious to me. Picturing like a hot air balloon, except it's a Gryphon. Once they arrive, Xaden uses Halden's temper against him, baits him into saying he has no authority and he's not acting as a professor at the college, so that he and Violet can stay in their room together and have a break from their relationship. 2 breaks. He reads Violet's thoughts unintentionally here, and they both catch it.
Oh,
She's like, I didn't say that out loud.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you must have thought it through the bond, or your signet's getting stronger.
Mhm.
This time it's not ignored. Takaris proposes to take Halden and his guard with him by ship instead of the basket so that they don't arrive and be turned away from the royal council. Once they leave the continent, Taryn's connection with Sagail is broken, and Violet cannot sense Xaden through the bond. Taryn and Andarna experience difficulty flying without magic. Also, Taryn, Andarna, and Violet all still have their telepathic connection.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Are we seeing Xaden's third signet again? Was my first question.
I think so. I think it's more proof on that third signet. Now I'm of the camp. I'm torn between two camps. He has a third signet, or him being Venin is changing his signet. I don't think it's him developing his signet. I think it's because he's Venin now.
Yeah. I think we're seeing some changes, but
there's more power available to him, so his signet can grow. Why does Riddix get to change and he's privy to the same amount of power? He's not Venin.
Oh, yeah.
But his signet is obviously growing,
right.
too. And then Takaris makes a interesting question. I wonder if your magic will come back once you're touching land in Deverelli. Why is he saying once they're touching land?
Is he speaking to just Xaden there?
I don't know. That's what it's Xaden and Violet at the door, and that's when he makes the comment. So is he talking about just Xaden because he already knows that Xaden's Venin?
He did study Venin long before anyone else did, and he has access to knowledge in his private library. I think he is hypothesizing on either that the magic comes from the sky versus land, or he does know that Xaden's Venin, because he's like, maybe there's a telltale sign that we don't know about, but he does.
Does he know that the dragon's power comes from the ground? Or does he know that the Venin's power comes from the ground?
And what we know of is Venin has not touched the ground as of yet in the Isles, right?
I don't know. That's what I'm very confused about, and we're going to talk about it in chapter 22. We get no answers.
I know. I feel like it only just provides more questions.
Let's break down chapter 22.
We got this.
All right. Reaching the beaches of the first isle, Violet notes the color seems to be very dulled compared to that on the continent. Taryn notes the walls of the city, hidden in the trees, are lined with crossbolts, which seems odd for a place dedicated to peace. The waters don't seem to be drained of their colors like the lands or vegetation. On the ground, all of the riders and their mounts seem very agitated. Violet confirms that they no longer have a telepathic connection, and she and her dragons have retained it. Takaris is the first one to greet them. He informs them that Halden is to meet with the king later that afternoon, and the squad goes to rest before heading out to find the merchant from Asher's journals. Xaden finds peace in the lack of magic available. Why does Violet maintain her bond with her dragons, but not with Xaden? If all the bonds are still going to be intact because of Violet or her dragons, why doesn't she still have her bond with Xaden?
Maybe Andarna is the reason why she can still speak to both of them.
That dragon does have a thing where he can make everybody hear the dragons. Are we 100% sure mates don't exist for humans in this world?
Well, that's what my question has been. Obviously, Xaden and Violet have a weird connection. They're humans that get to telepathically talk. I don't know why it's not a bigger deal to everyone, because it is to me.
It's either because of their love, their connection there, almost like a mating bond, or it's because he's the shadow wielder and she's the lightning wielder. And for some reason, those two together are really powerful.
So then why are the dragons not able to maintain their communication among themselves, even with Taryn and Sagal being mated? If it's just going to take away the rider and dragon connection, I get it.
It's because they also don't have access to magic, too.
Why does the magic seem so different here? A lot of your question, like, why has it affected not only the humans communicating with their dragons, but it's definitely affected the dragons, which are the magical beings.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. Could it be the Irids on the Isles? Could that be a possibility of like what they can do with however they present magic? Is it something that walls them and keeps magic to a certain level, or?
It's just so weird to me that if it's Andarna and her connection with Violet, and it's because she's an Irid and she has access to other magic, why does Violet still get to talk to Taryn too? Those bonds are not dependent
on each other.
Violet is the one that's different.
I think because Violet pulls magic from Taryn and pulls magic from Andarna. But in this particular scenario, maybe she's almost like giving Taryn her magic because she has magic to give.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why, because she's pulling from Andarna's magic. Andarna still has her magic, so she's able to kind of push that to Taryn, and that little bit of magic allows the communication to stay open.
That's
an
actually interesting theory, because Andarna is such a huge part of the Irids, but at the same time, Violet is the number one denominator here, too, for both of those
Yeah.
dragons. Why didn't it affect the
But
other two, Xaden and Sagail?
If it is Violet is the constant, then her connection with Xaden should still be there too. And
That
it's
yeah.
not.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
it's
just
not.
it's very
But she's-
that whole thing is super confusing. To
That
me.
would maybe probably make it more sense that the only reason they're connected is because of Sagel Bagel and Taryn. Then it's saying you can't talk to Xaden because there's no way to give Sigel magic right now. She doesn't have she kind of has a connection with her, but there's no way to give her magic.
That whole thing is just like a mind fuck for me. Why? Why is this
Rebecca, why?
here? Why?
Yeah. Everything seems dull because the magic has been completely drained from this place. Like maybe magic was once here. Maybe this is like where Venin originated from. I don't know. Maybe
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like,
Yeah.
have the Venin already drained the Isles and moved on to the continent, and that's where the first war took place, or whatever the war they keep referencing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
The
is
war.
that what happened?
Because it's definitely like the vegetation and the ground. Like that's what I remember you
Yeah.
pointing out as far as drained of color. It wasn't the water.
No,
It
because
wasn't the
Violet-
sky.
Yeah, Violet's like, I just keep looking at the water and the turquoise colors and like
Yeah.
all of these. It's so beautiful, and there's the dolphinic fish Andarna obviously wants to eat because she wants to eat everything.
Violet basically saying she's questioning the deal she made with Takaris because Xaden's like at peace.
Yeah.
He's not having to
Yeah.
be worried about right there. And then
So I just want to know like why there's no magic, why it's similar to him standing on the drained rocks from the Venin, why the water doesn't seem to hold the same dull properties as the vegetation.
And now this is probably a great segue into fan theories.
yes.
Because this is one that just popped in my head. If the Venin were to figure out how to draw power from the sky, what would be stopping them? The sky is endless. It's limitless.
That's, I think, why
Their
Violet's
goal.
power is endless.
I don't think she is just a lightning wielder. I think she just wields power and it takes shape of lightning.
That'd be true.
Lightning wielder, I think, is a bad label for her.
It's probably like her daggers. It's her strongest current or like her strongest, like you said, form of how she generates that magic.
It does always talk about it, just power.
It's
And,
not
like-
just lightning. It's straight up power.
Mm.
And I think that we focus so much on the lightning portion because storms seem to have an effect on her. But if you're pulling all your power from the sky, then yeah, a storm is going to amplify that. But I did just read, my theory is that Irids have channeled their power in a way that is either from the sky or gods. Dun, dun,
gods
dun.
play. The gods
Oh
play a
my
role.
gosh, the
Okay, that's a good one. I
Yeah.
actually like those two.
Thank you,
Yeah.
fan theories.
I don't know if I fully believe that they gain their power from the sky. I do
Mhm.
think the Empyrean dragons get it from a different source than the Irids because
Yeah.
and I think the Irids are different. And it's not in any of the chapters that we've gone over in this episode. But when Andarna's den dragon that comes back to save her, he's like, you are magic. Are the Irids just this type of magic? Are able to pull it from anything? They don't have to, or they just exist as magic. They don't have to pull it from somewhere.
Do the dragons have gods? It's crazy to me that the most peaceful dragons have the most power. Or at this point, we think they have the most power.
We don't even know why they're peaceful or if they are peaceful,
Yeah.
really.
I think they're a bunch
Honestly.
of jackasses.
I do too.
I'm
Mhm.
just like, the humans, they all suck. They always kept going back to war, so we just like left them.
I think that the Irids have a different way to gain magic. Absolutely. I'm not sure I'm totally on board with it being the sky yet. Although that is
No, that's
pretty
that's
much
a-
the only other option.
I put map theory in here because we've been talking about the map.
Mhm.
And I find it interesting that the Isles are completely left off the map. And this isn't a theory, I guess. This is more just a question. Do you think that they're left off the map because just like we know about the whole point of the book is that history was erased? When they decided to go off on their own and excommunicate everyone, they just were like, well, it's not important to have them on the map anymore. They're not a part of us anymore.
Is that why Asher's the only one who's traveled past and has made like
Ye-
record of those isles or anything past
Oh
the
my gosh. I
continent?
have another theory about the silver hair. I think the silver hair people are of Dune's temple and they have been at least partially dedicated to Dune. I think that that's where Mama Sorengill's from.
Because she has the silver hair
She
too.
has the silver hair too.
Didn't they confirm that they're all dedicated to Dune and that is why they have the silver hair? Because that's why, like when Myra's going through it, or Mira, she literally says that Grandma explains that she was almost dedicated to Dune. I thought when they were on that island, they all have silver hair.
They do. At the temple?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? The Temple of Dune?
No.
But the one girl has only a piece of silver in her hair, just like Violet's. Violet's like focused on this one girl because it's exactly like her hair.
Well, and doesn't she somehow make a comment like, do you dye your hair like we do or something? And the other one's
Yeah, some of them dye their
like
hair.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, no, my hair's been like this forever. And the mirror tells her, no, it hasn't been like this forever. Our dad literally kidnapped you and tried to dedicate you to Dune for some God knows reason why. I think Asher found Lilith in Dune's temple.
But she's a writer.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
But he brought her. I think he brought her over. He has different titles and different names.
So basically you're saying that he groomed her.
I don't know. She has to be connected to Dune. It's who she's prayed to the most in Violet's memory. She has the silver hair. I don't know.
And that's how we'll end every fan theory section is, I don't know.
I don't know. Sounds right to me.
So now let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Next episode, we will be talking about chapters 23 through 32 of Onyx Storm. And be sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And tune in on Spotify every Friday for a new episode of Book Thoughts.